France will help with all her genius in the reconstruction of a new world.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the conflicts from throughout history that need a film adaptation.
For many, it was a one-way trip, but for all, it was a charge into the history books.
Battle of Stanford Bridge.
Having formed a defensive shield wall, the Norse invaders grasped their swords and battle axes. Now two iconic kings of medieval history are about to clash at the battlefield of Stanford Bridge.
1066 was a rough year for England. While the Battle of Hastings has more notoriety, mere weeks before it there was another decisive battle in the northeast. Often considered the last stand of the Viking Age, the Battle of Stanford Bridge saw Harold Godwinson face off against Norwegian forces led by King Harald Hardrada and Godwinson's own brother Tostig. The battle has several moments that are pure cinema, like Godwinson giving his foes an ultimatum directly, or a single Viking berserker holding the bridge against the entire English army. And given how popular Vikings have been of late, it only feels like a matter of time before this battle hits the big screen.
The story of the bridge berserker has become one of the greatest icons of the courage and ferocity of Viking warriors.
Battle of Karanchabesh. The Austrian army was all set to halt the Ottoman Empire's advance in modern-day Romania. And while they got a battle, it wasn't with the Turks. The story goes that late at night, before the impending fight, a group of cavalry soldiers got into a drunken fight with infantrymen over their booze. In the ensuing melee, somebody yelled, "Turks!" causing a general panic. Because so many of the infantry were drawn from the Empire's minorities who didn't speak the same language, confusion reigned. The Austrians then retreated from themselves, and the Ottomans ended up taking Karanchabesh easily. The Battle of Karanchabesh isn't exactly a rousing example of military conflict, but this disaster could make for a worthy thriller or a grim comedy of errors. Battle of Ain Jalut.
The Mongols had defeated the Khwarezmian Empire during the campaign of 1219 to 1221. But there was more to gain to the east, and the expedition of Jebe and Subutai across Iran and the Caucasus proved just that.
The Mongol Empire's western expansion seemed basically unstoppable in the 13th century. However, they met their match in the Mamluk Sultanate of Egypt in what is now Israel. Led by the Sultan Qutuz himself and his general Baibars, the Mamluks baited out the Mongols into overcommitting their forces, using their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. While the Mongols did rally and counterattack several times, they were ultimately defeated.
Internal conflicts over the succession delayed the Mongol response, and while they didn't know it yet, this would be their zenith, and the beginning of the end of the greatest empire the world had ever seen.
The simple yet brilliant strategies at play, as well as plenty of cavalry action, all helped make this an epic battle. Some sources also claim the Mamluks even used hand cannons, which could make for an explosive spectacle on screen. Battle of Brunenbra. The idea of a united England took a while to coalesce, but historians argue that this is the battle in which it finally came together. King Athelstan brought his Anglo-Saxon forces together to battle an alliance of Scots, Vikings, and Britons.
Though this new enlarged Saxon kingdom unnerved other powerful men in Britain, including Constantine II, King of Alba. Constantine, as well as King Owain of Strathclyde, the King of Delabath, and the Lord of Bamber, all acknowledged Athelstan's overlordship, but this stability would not last.
While the actual location of the Battle of Brunenbra remains debated, it was probably somewhere in the north of England. The fighting was said to have lasted all day long, with the casualties on both sides being great. The national identity element and scarcity of details lend well to a cinematic treatment, particularly by England. Athelstan's men may have begun the battle as Anglo-Saxons, but they finished it as Englishmen. Battle of Billow Wood. The United States Marines are often regarded as some of the finest soldiers in the world, and the Battle of Billow Wood is where they acquired their reputation.
31 officers and 1,056 men of the Marine Brigade had been killed or wounded. However, the Marines had managed to secure a foothold in Belleau Wood.
The fighting took place over nearly the entire month of June in 1918, with the Germans invading to overcome France. French, British, and US forces held them back. The fierceness of the Marines' defense is said to have earned them the German nickname Teufelshund, or Devil Dogs. We can imagine a gritty, intense war movie focusing on a group of Marines throughout the battle. Our pick would be First Sergeant Dan Daly, who reportedly inspired his men thus, quote, "Come on, you sons of bitches! Do you want to live forever?" Legendary. Battle of Carheim.
The 1st century BC was a time during which the newly reformed Roman legions reigned supreme on the battlefield, suffering only a few defeats. However, in 53 BC, the Romans met a completely new army at the Battle of Carrhae.
Rome had no shortage of terrible leaders, and one of its most hateable was Marcus Licinius Crassus. A member of the first triumvirate along with Julius Caesar, Crassus was the richest man in Rome and put down Spartacus's slave rebellion. Incited by the prospect of glory in battle and even more riches, Crassus invaded the Parthian Empire without permission and was lured into a desert ambush by the Parthians near Carheim in present-day Turkey. While Roman legions were exceptional against other infantry, the Parthians' armored cavalry and mounted archers made easy work of them. To top it all off, Crassus was supposedly killed with molten gold. It'd be a fitting end for a villain, don't you think? Battle of Cany.
On a sweltering August 2nd, the battle standard in front of Varro's tent signaled to the troops to array for battle.
Not to be confused with our last entry, the Battle of Cany was one of the Roman Republic's most brutal defeats. The Carthaginians, led by the famed general Hannibal, fought against the Romans in southeastern Italy. Despite being outnumbered by 30,000, Hannibal's superior tactics led to minimal losses for his men and wholesale slaughter for the Romans. The Romans' tight formation proved their downfall, and the Carthaginians split and encircled them in one of history's earliest recorded pincer maneuvers. Hannibal and his famed tactical prowess haven't been given nearly enough attention on screen, so we'd love to see a movie about one of his greatest triumphs.
Never has there been a defeat that struck so hard at the very heart of Roman society.
Siege of Tyre. Alexander the Great has been celebrated on film before, but of his individual battles, the Siege of Tyre is perhaps the most interesting.
When news of Tyre's end spread, almost every remaining city on the Mediterranean seaboard prepared to surrender.
Eager to capture the island fortress city of Tyre off the coast of present-day Lebanon, Alexander blockaded the island with ships for over half a year. But Mr. the Great didn't rest on his laurels the whole time. He had his men construct a causeway made of stone to reach the island with siege towers and catapults. We're thinking of a movie like The Bridge on the River Kwai, but with swords, sandals, and siege weapons. The causeway's still there, by the way. Tyre stopped being an island because Alexander the Great was just that extra.
Today, as Green tells us, deep under the asphalt streets and apartment blocks, the stone core of that fantastic causeway still stands, one of Alexander's most tangible and permanent legacies to prosperity.
Battle of the Nile. Lord Horatio Nelson was among Britain's greatest naval heroes. But while everybody knows about Trafalgar, his decisive victory in the Battle of the Nile still hasn't gotten a movie. Nelson and his fleet were in pursuit of Napoleon's own fleet in his expedition to Egypt. The French were anchored in Aboukir Bay, arranged in a line with only shallows behind them. Nelson planned to attack each French vessel with one British ship, giving each cover. However, Captain Thomas Foley, the Mad Lad, instead took his leading ship into a gap between the lead French ship and the shore, followed by others, allowing the British to flank the unprepared French.
Each ship's captain singles out a target and drops anchor alongside. Vanguard alongside Spartiate. Minotaur against Aquilon. Defense against Purple Souverain.
The decisive victory and cool naval maneuvers would make for one epic film.
Many would argue it was one of the greatest naval victories in the history of the Royal Navy. Maybe for sheer audacity as well as the one-sidedness of the result, it was Nelson's greatest victory.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications. The Battle of Castle Itter.
In the small village of Itter, Austria, lies a medieval castle named Schloss Itter. the castle was seized by SS Lieutenant General Oswald Pohl under orders from Heinrich Himmler on February 7, 1943.
Hollywood loves to make movies about unlikely allies coming together to fight a common foe. One of the wildest historical examples happened in World War II, when a group of American troops joined together with a group of French POWs and German soldiers who defected to defend Castle Itter, an Austrian fortress turned prison camp from a German panzer attack. It's basically a real-life movie already. A former tennis star went behind enemy lines to get reinforcements, an ex-SS officer made a heroic sacrifice. The only thing crazier than this battle is why no one has made a movie about it yet. Actually, scratch that. It's the fact that it had an awesome power metal song written about it. Is there an amazing historical battle that should get the big screen treatment you wish we'd treated better by including? Share your picks in the comments.
By now, German ability to resist was almost at an end.